Welcome to We Are Montgomery Township, the podcast where we keep you informed and engaged about what's happening in Montgomery Township in Montgomery County.
Welcome back. I'm Carolyn McCreary. I'm the Township Manager for Montgomery Township. Today we're going to talk about all things residential planning and zoning. And with me are Marianne McConnell, who is our Planning and Zoning Director, and Amy Gehman, who is an associate in the Planning Department. So welcome, ladies. Marianne, I'll start with you. Do you want to give a little bit of your background?
I've been here about 22 years. Came from Home Depot, of all places. They brought me on. I guess they liked my customer service background. So I started out as a planning associate, eventually worked into deputy zoning officer, assistant director, and now director.
Excellent. Amy's? Your turn.
I've been here almost 3 years. I come from a long-term care background. I've worked in long-term care for 25 plus years. So this is a completely different field for me, and it's new and different. I learn something every day. It's great to be here.
Great. So we'll go into it then. What type of home projects require a permit, and how do permits help ensure the safety and long-term property value for homeowners? A lot of times they're surprised that, different things they're doing that they need a permit for. They don't understand why it's their property. They're doing the work possibly, or their brother-in-law is helping them. They don't understand the need for a permit. So Marianne, do you want to just elaborate a little bit?
So we do require permits for anything structural, decks, additions, patios, electric, plumbing, heating and air conditioning, fences, sheds. We also require a permit, and we do that so that they comply with the zoning and the building codes. You want to make sure that they're built structurally sound. You want to make sure that the plumbing is installed correctly, that you're not going to get leaks or pipes burst, the electrical is not going to burn your house down. So you want to get your inspections and your permits. Zoning, we look at the placement of the structures, so they're not too close to your neighbor's property line. They're not too large. And we look at the height of those structures and how they're going to impact the neighboring properties.
Amy, what are some of the most common questions or concerns that residents have about permits and zoning? And how does the township, and you in particular, help guide them through the process?
First of all, the number one question is, do I need a permit? They call and they ask, do I need a permit for this or that? And we will tell them yes, typically if that's what it does. And then we walk them through it. We tell them where they can get their permit application. If they have any questions as they're filling it out, what they need in order to bring the permit to us to get it started with the process. How long does it take to get a permit also? About 2 to 3 weeks, we tell them, depending. And then how they go about getting their permit, what to do after, any inspections they might need after they all the work done or they're getting the work completed.
And what are the most common permit requests? Like what do people in Montgomery Township most need permits for?
Well, right now we're getting the spring season, so we're looking at fences and we're looking at sheds quite a bit.
We get a lot of decks and patios also.
So I know during the pandemic, it seemed like there was a rise in a lot of outdoor things. So, outdoor kitchens, swimming pools. Are we still seeing that trend, or have things changed there?
I think it's dropped off some. I think people are still trying to get outside and expand their home and create that outdoor environment. Swimming pools, we got through the pandemic, and thereafter we get a lot of swimming pools. Decks with the roofs, they want their outdoor TV, their outdoor kitchen, the screens that can come down and enclose it. They want to spend more time outside and at home with their family and friends.
So I also know, working in this role, we look at things very differently. So if you're going to buy a house or something, because we're familiar with it, we think of things. But what about a prospective homeowner coming in? What should they look for? What should they be asking you if they're interested in buying a house within the township?
I think the first thing is a site plan, knowing how big or how small your lot is. You can go to the home and you can visit it and you can see where they're mowing, but sometimes that might not exactly be where the lines are. And if you're planning future projects, know that you have the space to do that. Come in and visit the office to see if I want to do an addition, if I want to put a pool in. We can guide you somewhat and let you know what the setbacks and the requirements and the building coverage. And that gives you an idea on what you can and cannot do.
So with the home prices increasing and the inventory being small, a lot of people are looking at their existing home and saying, what can I do to improve it? What can you tell us about things that they're doing internally that they might need permits for?
Kitchen renovations, more if you're moving things around. If you're just swapping out your cabinets, we don't need a permit. But if you start moving walls and adding electrical and moving plumbing, and knocking down walls to expand your kitchen, then we do need a permit for that work.
What about basements?
Basement renovations, I think, have always been a big one. It's kind of been the same. We've seen a lot of kitchen and bump outs, and creating a little bit more living space with that kitchen and living area.
So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about zoning. So I know from my experience, zoning is put in to protect the people who live in a community so that if you're in a residential area, you don't have to worry about one day the property across the street from you is now going to be in industrial use. But can you explain how they protect property values and safety and the quality of life for our residents?
So I'll have a couple next up. So as zoning protects the property values, and it designates certain districts so that the residential and the placement of residential to commercial to industrial, you're not living across the street from a warehouse. So you have buffer zones in between, which is our business professional. And lot sizes can affect the property value. Density can affect it. So our zoning from R1 all the way to R6 designates lot sizes, the number of units that can be on acreage. That all affects your property values and what you can and cannot do with the property.
Amy, I'll throw you a curve. What's a typical day look like for you in planning and zoning? Or is there a typical day?
Well, not always a typical day. We'll put the permits, we get in and we get them started in the system, take them where they need to be. And then, people will come in. Somebody might come in who needs a site plan, or we might get a phone call. I want to do a swimming pool. What are my setbacks? We get a lot of phone calls asking those kinds of questions. How much is my permit going to be, and do I need a permit for this? So it's something new all the time, every day. And for people who don't know, it's a learning experience to fill out a permit application because they've just never done it before.
Well, and getting back to what we talked about earlier, a lot of people are under the impression, well, I'm doing the work myself. So or my brother-in-law, my dad's coming over to help me on the weekend, so they're not they think contractor and they think permit. And I think sometimes also people think, if I have a contractor, they're automatically handling the permits. And I think it's important that people sort of talk it out and understand. And I think you're the bridge, so, the contractor might be saying something and the homeowner might be inferring something else. So I think in addition to the administrative work you do, you also have the vital role of being that go-between to explain. And I'm sure you're learning as you go too, because I'm sure when you came in, I know when I started in government, I had no idea. And now I look at, now I'm the nerd who on vacation is looking at stormwater systems. It's that doesn't look like it's, something that we would approve. Mm-hmm. So Marianne, what role do you think that zoning and permitting play in balancing our growth and maintaining the character of our community?
Zoning, again, based on defining where residential, commercial, and limited industrial will be, it also can preserve our natural resources. It allows for parks. It allows for development with providing open space to residents so that we can give them the homes that they want and the outdoors that they want also, and the green areas. The permitting part, that's like the conditional use and the special exceptions and the variances, that's the public hearing for anything that they want to do a little bit outside of what's allowed. And it gives them the opportunity to set certain conditions or ask questions about what their proposed use is or what they want to do, and how it impacts traffic and natural resources. And we walks them through the process also and gives them a better understanding of how the development comes to be.
So I think people are still surprised at how limited some of our authority really is on private property. So, when Penn Medicine came in for their project, for example, I think a lot of the expectations that the public had were things that we really don't have control over. Our powers are given to us by the Commonwealth. The other thing, I know you get this question a lot, is what about the mall? So can you maybe just elaborate a little bit on why we just can't go in and tell them all this is what you need to do and this is how you need to be?
I mean, as far as like the Penn Medicine project, the property was zoned commercial. They came in with a conditional use application for their proposed use and went through all that process. So by law, if they meet all the regulations and they meet the conditions, and we allow the use. As far as the mall goes, that's zoned regional shopping center. They have all their uses that's permitted. And until, we find somebody that wants to come in and do something a little different and have conversations, we can always amend the code or seek special exceptions or variances for proposed uses. And we're hoping that day comes because we would love to see some redevelopment in that area. I think mixed use is a nice for that large property. And that would bring a lot of people together, more like a town center. I think that's something that we would hope for.
Along those lines, as far as retail, can you explain, if something is zoned retail, why it is that we can't pick and choose what retail goes in there?
As long as they meet the use, we allow it. Well, I can't say I don't like that use, and no, it's not appropriate there. A lot of these companies do their own research and their own demographics, and they know where they want to go. It's just if that use fits in that zoning district.
What are the biggest changes you've seen in, with zoning and planning since you've started?
Just a lot more uses coming into play that weren't 20 years ago. Solar, wind energy, that's something we're looking into. But whole house generators, we just updated our code to set regulations for those. EV ordinance we're working on for the electrical vehicle charges. Just, I guess, as society moves forward, our zoning code has to move forward with it.
So I was thinking too, medical marijuana didn't exist 10 years ago. We have distilleries and microbreweries and wineries popping up.
Daycares.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't exist 15, 20 years ago, so it's not something we thought about. So we have to try and plug it in. Where does it fit, and how do they get there?
So Amy, I would imagine since no 2 days are the same here, that's a blessing and a curse. So, if you have a plan in the morning, this is what you're going to tackle, and then your day just goes in a different direction. But if you like the unexpected things that come your way, yes.
Yeah, it's something new. I could have a plan, like you said, in the morning, and then something happens, and then we have to run with that just because something came in or something wasn't, we need to go look at something outside. It's just something new, and it is exciting on a daily basis for me.
Like the township manager saying, hey, we're going to do a podcast, so you're take you away from your work. Finally, Amy, if a resident's planning a home project and they're not sure about the rules, what's the best way to get them the right information and support as they go through the process?
First of all, give us a call. We have very knowledgeable staff that will help them with the process, tell them step by step what to do. If for some reason we can't get that answer right away, we will ask them to call us, or we'll give them a call back to make sure we get those right answers. It's important that they feel that they can get what they need from us as a department, and we try and make it easy for them, for everybody, for the homeowner, for the contractor. It's important to do that for everybody within our municipality.
Marianne, before I forget, can you just elaborate a little bit on the inspection process in this?
Yeah. So once I was going to elaborate on the permitting.
Please.
We realized that we do this every day, and the resident coming in does not. So we try to walk them through it as best as we can so they understand the process. The permit fee does include inspections, so we highly recommend that you get them. And you call once the permit's issued, We have a checklist that goes with that on what inspections are required and when. They can call the office 24 to 48 hours in advance to schedule that inspection. And then our inspector will go out and he verifies that the work is completed to code and that it's safely installed.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for your time. And we encourage everybody to tell your neighbors and friends about this podcast. And we look forward to doing the next one.
Thanks for listening to the We Are Montgomery Township podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and follow Montgomery Township on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at MontTWP. Our display name is Montgomery Township, PA. Until next time, we are Montgomery Township.